Hi and welcome back to my shed. I've done a Canadian drum builder and I've done an American drum builder so far, so I thought it was about time that I probably did a British drum builder. I don't really know why, other than British drums these days I don't know what it is, I just don't, my interests lie elsewhere. I think I'll put it like that, it's probably more diplomatic. So I don't really buy a lot of British drums these days. I've got quite a few Premier drums. I've got 3 Premier kits. I've got a lovely 12-inch snare drum by KD. It's Keith Keogh, who now designs and makes drums for Premier. And I've got a couple of drums from Highwood as well. For those of you that know Highwood in the UK, I won't really, well, you won't need any introduction to these drums or Gareth and Simon's work. But for anyone else that's watching, Highwood is as I said, a British drum company from up in the north of England, up in Wakefield, which means they all talk funny compared to me. And they mainly do wood shell stuff, but these particular drums, which are the Hallmark series, Gareth did with Mark Hall, I think was the guy that actually built the shells, machined the shells, and all the parts as well, I think. And they're metal drums, and they were built to commemorate, I think it was the 6th anniversary of Highwood's opening for business a couple of years ago. I think it was 2010 now. And I first came across these particular drums when I got given a couple to review, and I originally had a 14x4 and I had a 14x7, and what I was really quite impressed with the drums, and I actually ended up buying the 14x4. It's in this mysterious stack of drums that you never see, but I can assure you is there. And the 14x7 actually belongs to someone else already, so it wasn't available for sale. But Gareth told me, I think a little time afterwards, that he had this odd shell which was a 14x6.5, which was the only half-size drum that they'd done. All the other drums were in whole sizes, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 I think it was. And he mentioned he had this shell and that he hadn't really done anything with, but had mentioned it, and he offered it to me if he did actually decide to sell it, which thankfully he did. Thank you, Gareth, again. I love it. And it's the Hallmark series is probably notable for a few things, I think. Certainly in terms of appearance, as I'll show in a minute, but the lugs are of a unique design to the drum. They look very different from anything else as well. They're really quite functional, and well, I've certainly not had any problems with them. And the other thing about the shell, really, I suppose the obvious thing when you've seen one of these in person, and certainly felt one of these in person, is that it's about at least an inch thick, solid aluminium. So what that means is the drum is incredibly heavy. It almost takes, certainly this one down here, it almost takes 2 hands to pick it up, even when it's in the case. So well, get it now, and this is it. Now I'll spin it around again. This drum, as I said, this drum's actually unique in the sense that it's the only it's the half size, so it's a 14x6.5, and it's also certainly between Gareth and me has come to be referred to as the black one. So if you ever see me ranting on a drum former or anything and referring to the black one, it's actually this drum. And well, as you can see, these are the lugs. There's 10 per head, and they really are something quite different. I've not tried taking them apart or anything, and nor would I even try. But they keep the head in tune. I've not had any problems or any issues with detuning at all, which is always really helpful. I tend to use this drum, and in fact the other one as well, for outdoor gigs where I can, because it's basically it's a very, I mean, it's a physically heavy drum, but it's also a very thick sounding drum, and you don't really have to even hit it that hard to get a good solid thick sound out of it, and yet it's still very articulate as well. So I find that it works really well outside, where there's obviously no or less reflective surfaces, which you know, you hit a drum when you're playing outside, sometimes it sounds very flimsy, very thin, and it's quite demotivating almost. Sometimes if you're not getting that feel back off the drum, which with these I'm really happy to say I don't get. But anyway, the drum itself has got this this lovely sort of I suppose embossed Highwood badge, which is really quite fetching. I really like that. I have a thing about badges, and if you've ever read any of my reviews, I tend to pick out badges quite a lot. It's only a little thing, but at the same time, I think that if you have a really nice looking, great sounding drum and you slap a horrible little tacky badge on it, it kind of devalues it. And I actually had that once with a drum company. I'm not going to name them because I have nothing against the drums at all. I own one of the drums that they've made, and it's absolutely fantastic, and I admire the person's work who makes them as well. But there was a period where I don't there was a period a few years ago where I think there were some quality issues and things, and I commented on the badge, and had an email from the company which was quite interesting, but it was positive. It was positive in the long run as well, and it was really nice to see the company bounce back from any issues that I think they were having. So, but anyway, I'm not going to name names, but so I'm sure some of you will know who it was because I will have mentioned it at some point, but it was a long time ago. Anyway, back to this drum. These are very, I don't think I've ever taken the heads off of any of these drums, so I don't actually know how heavy these hoops are, but they are, you might be able to see from that, they are fantastically thick, heavy hoops, which helps get that very thick, solid sound, which I really like. And again, you know, the whole thing is designed to a really high standard, and it's got a trick strainer on it, as do I think probably at least half of the high-end snare drums that I own these days. I've said before, I personally think this is the best strainer on the market, probably closely followed by the whichever model it is now of Rondinettes. I also really dig that strainer, but for me, I think this one probably slightly pips Ron's one, not by much, but because they both have great features. It's kind of much of a much, and then off at a tangent. But Gareth put Evans heads on this one, so as I think he did with the other one actually as well. This is a power center reverse dot, and it's got a glass 500 on the resonance side, and we've got 16 strand wires on there. I don't know what the brand is, but what you might get to see, which I'll do a better video later on, is how thick that shell is. and you can have a look there. You can see that it's I'm sure I read it said it was an inch thick, but I mean, I'm sure Gareth will put me right if and when he sees this, but I mean, that seems to be more than an inch to me, but you know, what do I know. I just hit the thing. But the other thing that you probably see is that there are no there's no internal threads or anything for the lugs. So again, you can have a look at that. There's nothing on the inside of the shell at all. I'm going to put that down because it weighs a ton. I mean, sound wise, I don't really know how that would have an effect on things, but anyway, it's got a, I guess it's probably a fairly sort of standard, from everything that I've seen over the years, a fairly standard snare bed. It runs from sort of there to about there, and it's not too deep, so I think it's fairly sort of, I don't want to use the word average, it kind of belittles it, but it's fairly sort of representative of a lot of snare drums that I've got and that I've seen. But and you've got an air hole there as well. So actually, now I've said all that about the inch thick, you can actually see in the air hole that it is about an inch thick. So the sort of beveling down there is obviously just a visual thing for me. The bearing edges are quite sharp. It's got a sort of there's a counter cut basically. So you've got the edge coming up here, and then you've got a sharp counter cut coming down here as well. So the heads sit really nicely and everything. And so this is it is a unique drum. It's the last one that Gareth and Mark Hall, I think it was, who actually made it, as far as physically made it. This was the last one. This is number 13. There is another one actually on eBay at the moment, which says it's the last one, and I do have it on great authority that this one was actually made after that one, but for reasons which I don't need to go into, that one is for sale, and it's the last one to leave the factory. But this is actually the latest numbered, or the last numbered one, which is 13. Which is cool in many ways, not least of which it's because it was the day I was born. It was on the 13th. So there you go. We've got two of these, as I said. I've got number 8, which is a 14x4. I'll do that at another point. The other cool thing about this drum, and the other one in fact, is you get a really funky orange hard case with it. And so there's absolutely no chance of ever losing your drums with a case that loud. So what I'll do now anyway, I will do a better video going round so you can see some of the features of this really cool drum, and I will do a sound file as well. So see you later.